Mizz Activist here. Um, the first thing I would like to touch on is my last birth, my free birth. Um, I went through 3 traumatic births um, with my 3 first children, um, varying degrees. I'll explain each story another time. But so my fourth was absolutely amazing. I woke up in labor. I thought maybe in early labor. Well, okay. So I woke up, um, and my 3-year-old, 2 at the time, woke me up, wanted to nurse. So I nursed him back to sleep, got up, and I was feeling my stomach tighten, but it didn't really hurt. I got up, I went to the bathroom, and had my system flush. So I was like, okay, this is probably definitely early labor. This is gonna be a while. I lay back down. Started to get a little uncomfortable, but it don't really hurt. Just the tightening's just a little uncomfortable. So I go to the bathroom again, and there's my mucus plug. I'm talking in my unassisted birth groups about what's going on. My worry that I wasn't ready yet, that I didn't have the pool or the hose for the pool and whatnot. So how was I gonna fill this? I didn't have all my baby clothes pulled down from the attic yet, and I just wasn't really prepared yet, mentally either. I definitely wanted him to stay in longer. I was enjoying my pregnancy for the first time as well, so I just wanted him to stay put. So, anyways, I wake up my son's dad, and I'm like, hey, I think I'm in early labor. We should probably wake up the girls, move them out of the living room, and start filling up the pool since we don't have a hose. So we're doing that, and I'm helping him carrying the pots and pans and everything, and then I'm texting my stepmom, letting her know she should probably come get my 2-year-old. I didn't want him to wake up and me be in hard labor and him wanting to nurse and whatnot. So like a half hour goes by. Mind you, I woke up at 3 o'clock or 3:30. I woke him up at 4:30. So for an hour I was having these tightenings before I woke him up. So I woke him up at 4:30. At 5 o'clock I got my first painful contraction, and I texted my stepmom to come now. I had texted my birth photographer, like, I think I'm in early labor earlier, but I didn't want to wake her up because I knew she had a wedding to do that day, and I figured it'd be a while, because each of my labors were progressing in length from 3.5 hours, 4 hours to 5 hours. So I figured I had time and I would be able to get a hold of her once I found out if it was real labor. Well, once that first real contraction hit, there was no getting a hold of her. They started immediately at 2 minutes length, a minute apart, some 2 minutes apart, but I'm like trying to get the pool ready. So I moved from my kitchen into my living room and onto my futon, and I'm leaning up against it, and I'm like, trying to remind myself to breathe, don't clench up my jaw, relax, don't hold your breath, because all them things definitely makes your contractions hurt much more. And by, trying to relax and let go of all that, it definitely made them hurt a lot less. This was my least painful birth for sure. So I feel like I'm thinking in my head, this is going to be forever. I still have at least 4 more hours of this. I can't do it. I need to go to the hospital. And then I'm like, no, I don't, because they're not going to do anything for me but force me on my back and make me have more pain and, traumatize me again. And I'm going to be really disappointed. Or maybe possibly really injured, as I just got very lucky on my 3rd birth that I was not seriously injured or killed. But, so then the next thing I'm thinking, like, wow, this is transition thoughts. This is what you start thinking in transition, that you can't do it. And then I got the urge to push, and I'm like, there's no way, like, within 20 minutes I have the urge to push. So, like, I felt, I reached into my pants and stuff, and I felt, and all I felt was the bag of water bulging. I didn't feel his head. I didn't feel the cervix, although I wasn't too sure what I was feeling for on that, but I didn't feel anything but a bulging bag of water, so I assumed that I was, probably fully dilated. So I was, waiting for the fetal ejection reflex to kick in. I wasn't going to force myself to push. I jump into the pool, and there's about 8 inches of water in the pool, 6 to 8. He's still trying to bring pots over, but the water's starting to get cold, so I'm like, stop. And I get the urge to push, and like my water broke. I like pushed a little bit, and my water broke. And I looked at him and was like, the baby's coming now. Or the baby's coming. And he's like, yeah, I know. And I'm like, no, like now. So then, like, my body just starts pushing with that next contraction. And I tried to stop because all my other children, their heads were there, like, right there for a good amount of time. So, like, it felt like they had time to stretch me, I guess. So I was concerned about ripping with how, like, he was not right there until my water broke. My water broke, and then he was right there. And then within 30 seconds, another contraction hit, and my body starts pushing him out. So I was actually trying to fight against my body pushing, afraid he was going to rip me, and I screamed, you know, I'm going to rip or something like that. And my body just pushed him out, and I called him, and I pulled him up, and I'm just like, oh my god, oh baby, oh my god, I did it, I can't believe I did it, oh my god, baby, and I'm like picking him up, looking at him, and I'm just like, and hugging him, and like I tell his dad, you know, take some pictures, and he tried to take some on my phone or my camera, he couldn't figure it out, even though I had it all set up and ready, he couldn't figure it out, so then he grabs my phone and takes a couple blurry pictures. And then a few minutes go by, and he's like, you know, have you checked to see what the sex is yet? And I was like, I'm just staring at him in awe that this just happened, and it was such a shock, and it was so quick, 25 minutes, it was so quick. And I'm like, no, and I just lifted up his butt and showed him, and you got to understand my whole pregnancy, and this was the first time I didn't find out the sex, so I was dead set on being the first one to see and announcing this, and in the moment I was just in awe, and I didn't care. I just saw this beautiful baby I was holding that I just birthed myself with no interfering, nobody yelling at me, telling me to stay on my back and physically forcing me on my back when my body's telling me to push in another position, and shoving their fingers and instruments inside of me and all of that. So it was amazing, and I lifted up his butt, and, you know, his dad was like, there's a wiener, I have a son. Like, it was amazing, his first child-ish. And, well, it was amazing, and that was the first birth he actually witnessed, and it was amazing for him, it was amazing for me, and so wish I could have birthed my other children that way. But, it was great, and if I ever have another child, I will definitely be having another free birth on assisted birth, as long as we're blessed with no complications. But yeah, that's a little bit about my birth with my mystery baby, Loki Rogue. He was my smallest, my earliest, 38 weeks and 6 days. He was 7 pounds, 2 ounces. He was my only child I didn't have hyperemesis with, and he was my smallest, so that was odd. But yeah, next time I will show some pictures and stuff. I'll have to print them out. They're on my phone, so I can't really show you guys. But I'll show some pictures. They're blurry, but they're there. He had a knot in his umbilical cord, a true knot. We got a picture of that. He stayed attached to the placenta for probably about an hour and a half before we cut it. He nursed very well. And then we proceeded to go to the hospital about 3.5 hours later. I wish we would have waited longer to go until that night or the next morning, but I was worried about them not believing the accidental part and the quick part, which in all reality, it was too quick. I would not have made it to the hospital, and I'm really glad I was prepared. But at the same time, I think that if I was prepared to go to the hospital, it wouldn't have happened that quick. And I think that's why my other children's labors were so long, because they were being stalled, and the flight or fight, you know, reflex was overcoming me and stopping my body from I think I had just had fast, furious births, and had I stayed home, my other children's births probably would have been immensely quicker. Um, but yeah, we went to the hospital a little bit later, and one nurse got a little rude. Another one congratulated me and told me that I did perfect and I did great, and there was no need to call an ambulance, and I had it all covered, and I was very smart to stay home and snuggle my baby and nurse and everything before going there and being poked and prodded and all that. So, he's not vaccinated. He did receive the tetanus immunoglobulin, not the vaccine, but the immunoglobulin, only because they would not leave me alone about that because I had cut his cord at home, which was sterile and all that, but I mean, that was a battle. Um, and I probably should have stuck to my gut and just said no completely, but they have ways of scaring you, and I didn't want to press my luck. But he checked out great. The doctor on call was the doctor that had traumatized me with my last birth and could have possibly killed me. They said that they wanted her to come in and check and make sure everything was all good down there, and I was like, no, because if she comes in my room, I'm going to kick her in her face like I should have last time. She's not touching me. I do not want her in my room. I do not want her on my case. She is not touching me. She abused me last time, and she could have killed me. So, but it was great. Like I said, I wish we would have stayed home a little longer before we went. And the reason we went is because of a medication I'm on. He needed to be checked out to make sure there was no effects that would be happening or has happened. So, but he checked out alright. There was a little bit of a battle that I don't really feel comfortable elaborating on because it includes sensitive details. But there was a bit of a battle with the doctors, and I stood my ground and asked to be transferred, and then things started looking up and we got to go home. But the first 4 days of his life, I was battling for him and being separated from him because he needed to sleep 3 hours to be okay in their eyes. And so he needed to be swaddled and separated from me to sleep 3 hours. Which a lot of times he was on my breast, and I would not stop him from getting to the breast. But that caused a battle by me nursing on demand and them wanting us to be separated for 3 hours at a time in between nursing. But anyways, that's my story of my mystery baby Loki Rogue. And again, I'll show some pictures another time, and thanks for listening. And I guess I'll share my other birth stories another time, but I will be putting trigger warnings on that because there are sensitive details and triggering things that happened. Birth trauma and birth rape is real. My birth stories, I don't feel that I was birth raped, but other women have been, and they have a right to use that term. Alright, but anyways, this is Mizz Activist saying bye. Thank you.